Alright, so the scene starts off where we first left it, with Dragon Blade cutting his left eye out to see Talfa's Tal attack. We then get a flashback of when Dragon Blade was legit, and some tidy whities getting trained by Unk right here. Dragon Blade was like, even though you're so old, how are you stronger than me? But Unk started spitting. He was like, you're so greedy. You want everything because you're young and you've lost focus. When you're old, you have to cast off everything. And look closely at what's left and you'll find something within you. On some of that Dragon Warrior type shit. We cut back to the present with Dragon Blade dodging Tafa's attack. He rushes in and slashes her arms and chest open, but she regrows it. Dragon Blade then starts slashing her more, but she hits a Kagari Musho face. Fuchi then realizes based on attributes, they'll lose the battle. However, Fuchi's metal attribute counters Talfa's wood attribute. But since he can't really use Tal, he realizes that simply touching her and having her tendon destroyed by Dragon Blade will have the same effect. So Dragon Blade gets flashbacks from Unk, then slashes her in half. Dragon Blade was like,
light work, no reaction.
And Tafa calls for Jufa and reaches out for him. Their hands interconnect and decides to join forces. We get a flashback of when these two were just babies, as well as the other tensen. Tafa and Jufa viewed the world different from the other tensen and were basically opposites from them. They didn't like to train and got disturbed if anybody else got hurt, and Jufa didn't like it if Tafa got hurt. It wasn't until Rien turned evil and was like, you gotta feed on the Hoko people's Tal. Your proper training starts now, and it's the reason why you guys were created. And starts assigning the tensen things to study on, and eventually tells Jufa and Tafa to study Bojutsu. So basically, they were only made to constantly get freaky. During one of their freak-offs, Tafa was like, I don't like to feed on the Hoko people's Tal. Since then, everything in the castle has gotten distorted. So Jufa swears to protect Talfa's smile. Everything on the island eventually goes to shit. The Hoko is gone and they'll run out of crops. So Jufa suggests the idea of bringing sources of Tal from outside. This is because they'll die if they don't have enough Tal, since they're not truly immortal. Mudan then was like, I doubt we'll reach immortality. So Jufa crashes out and questions if Tafa's suffering was for nothing. Tafa then creates his flower boat to invite the humans to come to the island. Jufa was like, are you okay with feeding on the human Tal? And Tafa completely goes insane. Her voice switches and was like, totally. Is that weird? Jufa comforts her and was like, of course not. Humans are like Hoko, less than livestock and used for Tal. We're not crazy, but the world is. And swears to protect Talfa's smile. We cut back to the present where the two merged together and transformed into one being. Bro, that backstory was like I get it now. I don't even know how to describe it. Chobei tries throwing his sword at them, but they jump up and breaks through the ceiling. Dragon Blade tries to fight them, but Fuchi was like, slow down, you're bleeding too much, you'll die. But Dragon Blade was like, I ain't got time for that. If I kill that monster, my name will go down in history. And starts hitting the Tafa and Jufa sends in these spores that damages them, and one of the spores hits Dragon Blade. He starts tweaking and hits the again. Bro, this man is enjoying this way too much for him to be hitting the laugh twice. The two take cover and Chobei transforms, latching onto the two's vines. They try swiping him, but Chobei dodges and makes it so the two hit themselves. Because of how Chobei's attribute hinders theirs, they take damage. So their heads split open, sending in more tentacles that slices Chobei's arm off, then stabs him before sending him flying throughout the castle. They realize they've got two tendons that they need to destroy. Dragon Blade starts rage raiding, and Toma comes in and was like, Nisa. Bro, I get that your brother just like flew through 20 different buildings, but you don't gotta do all that, bro. I swear, bro, this man likes Chobei more than just brothers. Like, this man is weird. The episode ends where Furuichi suggesting the idea of them working together and the group agreeing to do so. Bro, they do this every single time with the cliffhangers, bro. Anyways, 9 out of 10. I really like their backstory of Jufa and Tafa. It really made me like appreciate them more than just being absolute freaks of each other. Seeing how their viewpoint started and them eventually going crazy was like very cool. I liked it. Anyways, that's all. If you enjoyed this video, please comment, like, and subscribe. This channel is pretty brand new, and I'd appreciate it if you guys do those things. Anyways, bye bye.